we've been consistent. Whether it's been hospital rooms, whether it's been a cruise, whether it's been vacationing in Mexico, not feeling well, we have done this for 206 straight weeks.
Welcome to Unscripted with Kirby Hasseman and Bill Petrie. In this weekly podcast, Kirby and Bill talk about the world of marketing, branding, and promotional products. Unscripted is available only at promocorner.com, the leader in digital marketing for the promotional products industry. Now, here's Kirby and Bill.
And welcome to episode number 206, which is the final Unscripted broadcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, is the platoon leader of this podcast, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the hell are you?
Yeah, I know that question is coming, and I've thought about it over the last 24 hours. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Obviously, a range of emotions doing this for the last time. We're living in a weird ass time, and I am conflicted about all of that as well. Generally, I am good, but I am cautiously optimistic. So how are you, man?
Good. I'm good. Like you said, a lot of mixed emotions as we do this. I figured I'd dress up for once. Everybody this week has been talking like I've been going to, like I'm dying. So I figured I'd go to my own funeral dressed appropriately. But no, mixed emotions and a lot of exciting things on the horizon. And I'm sure we might touch on those things. I don't know because we don't script this thing. But it does excite me, Kirby.
What's that, Bill?
Oh, thank you so much for knowing to ask. That'd be our good pals over at Next Level Apparel. It wasn't about reinventing the wheel, Kirby. It was about revolutionizing it. And in 2020, Next Level Apparel has transformed the industry's tubular tee by combining art and science to create the 1800 unisex ideal heavyweight t-shirt. You love that soft t-shirt because it's just the most comfortable thing on the planet, right?
Yeah, it's of course very comfortable. It's become the new fashion. I mean, really, the reality of it is, whether you like it or not, what you are wearing is not normal anymore. What I am wearing has become less normal. Yep. T-shirts has become corporate culture right now, and whether you like that or not, making them comfortable is a wonderful thing.
It is, and their vision was to create that tubular tee that offers elevated fit, made of that soft fabric you just touched on, everyday function inspired by streetwear, skatewear, surfwear, and workwear. You do not want to miss out on this tee. So head over to nextlevelapparel.com. You're not going to be sorry that you did. Now, Kirby, I want to thank you for having courage to do one more podcast, unscripted podcast with me. And let's see if we can. Someone mentioned we should do a diamond level podcast. So let's go ahead and. I don't even know what that means, but let's give it a tumble.
Yeah, let's give it a tumble. I like it.
Do you want to start off with a topic or you want me to?
Sure. I will start with the topic just because it's the $1 million question right now. So you are leaving Promo Corner.
I have left, yes.
Yeah, and you're left Promo Corner. We wanted to sort of sign off on Unscripted, give it one last time. Yep. So the question everybody's asking, I've seen it on social media, whatever, what's next for Bill? So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've given it some thought, and I think time will reveal what's next. And I'm really proud of what we accomplished as a team at Promo Corner. I've always been more about the team than me. And that team accomplished a hell of a lot, and it'll be fun watching it from the sidelines and watching them continue to raise the bar, continue to do great work, continue to watch Lori and Brandon and Amelia and Jess and Joel and the entire team there really just continue to elevate the industry. And I have zero doubt that they will. It was just time. It was time for me to move on. And I'm very fortunate that I have such a great relationship with Joel where we could have a frank conversation and just say, let's do this amicably. Let's do this like adults. And it's been nothing but great. And, I'll have it'll be weird over the next few weeks and months as I'm no longer part of Promo Corner. But again, I think they're positioned extraordinarily well for success, and they've got some great things up their sleeve. So they're going to be just fine, and I'm going to be just fine.
Cool. All right. Well,
how's that for a non-answer answer?
No, well, but at the end of the day, if you don't know, you don't know. So yeah, I think that at the end, it would have been weird had we not asked.
Yeah, and we've been asked, why is the podcast ending? Well, I'm no longer with Promo Corner, and Unscripted ends because it's always been a Promo Corner product.
Mm-hmm.
It's from day one, and I don't know if we'll get into this or not, but from day one, it's always been a Promo Corner thing, and it just feels right to kind of wrap a bow on it, leave on a high note, and I hope we're doing that today.
Yeah, well, time will tell. I mean, the
Time
podcast
will
could go
tell.
off the rails at any moment.
Absolutely. All right, Kirby.
Yep.
I figure we would, speaking of tone deaf, we'd probably be tone deaf if we didn't talk about the death of George Floyd and all that. I don't want to personally get deeply into that. I think it's a minefield. It's you wrote a really nice blog yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, titled "I Am the Problem" or "I'm Part of the Problem." Mm-hmm. And I just I think I'm going to speak for both of us here, if you don't mind, which I always say. I'm not going to speak for both of us, but I'm going to. This is one of those things, Kirby and I, this is a little transparency. We talked about, should we talk about this? And we agreed that we should touch on it, but it's such a minefield right now that we would kind of say something brief and move on. Is that accurate, Kirby?
It's fine. I've given a lot of thought to it. I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, I have to. Well, then let's talk about it. I'll go first. So where I come down to, and I've actually written down my thoughts. What I've come down to is I'm angry, I'm sick, and I'm shocked. And I'm sick. I think I'm mostly sick that I'm shocked because I shouldn't be. This is something that's systemic, and I think we're all really realizing that now. And I say we all. I think us as non-African Americans are seeing that. At least I am. I'd like to think I'm not racist. I'd like to think that Black lives absolutely matter. But I think, as you said eloquently, I'm part of the problem because our news cycle allows us to see something good or bad, horrific, whatever it is. And then 2 days later, it's gone because there's something else. I am not African-American, clearly. And so I don't know what it's like to get in my car at night and wonder if I'm going to be pulled over because of the color of my skin. I have no way to relate to that. I think I wrote in a post. I will never understand the way I want to understand. Mm-hmm. And I stand by that. And so obviously what happened to George Floyd is wrong, but how many times has that happened when it hasn't been caught on film that we don't know about? And so what I feel right now is a lot of rage burning inside of me. I want to go march. I want to go do something. I hope these protests continue every single day until things change. I hope they're peaceful, but I hope they continue every single day until things change. I want to march. I want to kneel. I want to do something. I really do. And I don't know what to do. But more than anything, I want to be part of the change and no longer ignorant to the problem, because it's very easy to be ignorant to the problem because it's not my personal problem. But you know what it is? It really is. It's all of our problem. And until we all really realize we're all part of that problem, we're not going to find a solution.
I was at an Inc. event many years ago, and it was actually during, as you may recall, Donald Sterling was an owner of the NBA of the Clippers, and some racist comments came out on audio, and there was a lot of call for him to sell the team, get rid of the team, whatever. Yep. At this event, Mark Cuban was speaking, and Mark was asked about it. And he said, I struggle to answer it because I can't say, whether he should lose the team or not. But he said, the reason I struggle with it is because we all have our own biases and we don't often want to acknowledge that or talk about them. He went on to say that if I'm walking down the street at night and I see a young black man with a hood pulled up, I might walk to the other side of the street.
Right.
He said, then if I get to that side of the street and I see a white man with tattoos and a shaved head, I might walk back to the other side of the street. In both cases, I have biases against them. I've made snap judgments.
Right.
The media at the time took the one sentence where he said that if I see a black man in a hoodie, I'll walk to the other side of the street. And that was the entirety of the story.
Right.
I was in the room that day and I was so frustrated because he gave a long and eloquent answer that a room full of people, it was a diverse room, literally he got a standing ovation because it was one of those moments where he acknowledged a thing that we all struggle with.
Yep.
Is that we want to say we're not biased, but we
Right.
are. We
All
all
of us
have them. And I think by taking out those biases and talking about them, acknowledging them, it takes away some of their power. What I would say about that is the lesson, this is not a shot at the media. What I would say is this is a long and complex discussion and a long and complex issue, and we can't have the discussion in sound bites.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. And so I think what I said, whenever I wrote that blog, was, I think the commitment I'm making to it is just to go, look, I want to invite myself into discussions or accept the invitation into discussions that I wouldn't have otherwise been a part of, and go into them with an open mind and an open heart.
Right.
And I think that's one of the places I can start. So that's where I'm at on it.
I couldn't agree more. And, I think I told you, we talked about this last night. I'm reluctant to talk about it without really thinking it through, because I don't want to say something that is misperceived or wrong, or
Sure.
I'm scared. It's a minefield.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's sickening what's going on. And I really wish, I want things to change, and I want to be part of that change.
Yeah. Two white gentlemen discussing the race problem in America is a great way to end a podcast. That's for sure.
It really is. Well, it could end our careers as well. Now, we'd be tone deaf if we didn't talk about it. We've talked about it.
Yep.
It's awful. All right, Kirby. Hopefully you have some topics, because I don't.
Oh, no, I do actually.
Excellent.
So I wanted to move on just a little bit to talk about something I feel like a lot of our listeners are kind of dealing with, but people around the country. PPP is,
Yes.
The payment
Payroll Protection Program. Yeah.
Thank you. I've been thinking quite a bit about it, and I've been having a lot of discussions with other entrepreneurs about it. In the interest of transparency, we got PPP money as an organization.
Right.
And it's the sort of feedback I get from most entrepreneurs, small business owners, whatever, is they're like, this could be awesome. This could be really amazing. So far for our organization, it has been. It has worked exactly like it was supposed to.
Excellent.
We, as an organization, I kept everybody on, and I was running out of runway. And that money allowed me to pay my team, but it also, I was hoarding cash. So I started to pay vendors. And so that it did all the things that it was supposed to do.
Right.
So it could be great. But almost every person I talk to is concerned with the idea of forgiveness, because the whole thing was, this is essentially free money, right?
Correct.
It could be an amazing boost to the economy as long as it's forgiven. If it's not, and there is a weird little minefield there, it could be disastrous. I'm curious to hear if you have had those conversations with anybody, or if you have any thoughts on it.
I've had some conversations with people who receive PPP money, and the challenge, I know, as you probably know better because you received it. I didn't apply for it, I didn't receive it or anything like that. I think the challenge is, the idea behind the PPP money is we're going to give you a loan that if you keep this staff on for a period of time will be forgivable. I know that's very simplistic terms, but that's essentially the long and the short of it.
That was how it was described. Yes.
Right. And then the idea was during that time of the PPP loan that the economy would pick up. What I'm fearing is that money is about to start to run out.
Sure.
That PPP money is going to run out here in the next 2-3 weeks. And I really am concerned you're going to see a second wave of mass layoffs because the economy hasn't picked up like we all hoped it would. I don't know if anybody thought it would, but I know we all hoped it would. So we haven't seen PPP, we haven't seen the pickup in the economy. So once that you hit the threshold of I've kept this group of people on for the period of time I needed to have my loan forgiven, will those people be laid off? That's my big concern. So that's the conversations I've had have been around that topic.
It's a super weird spot for everybody to be in because, yeah, you're right. The economy hasn't picked up, and this is like, please understand the intent of what I'm about to say. But the economy hasn't picked up, but a lot of economies haven't opened back up.
Correct.
So it's like, if you've gotten money, you've gotten paid, and you want to go out and eat, and the restaurants aren't open, it's a super weird spot for the economy to be in. So, I think, but on the other side of it, and this is what I just keep coming back to, is like, if it's, I'm going through the hoops, I'm jumping through what it is. Sure. But until somebody tells me that loan is forgiven,
you're assuming it's not.
Super anxious about it.
Well, and I don't blame you. Like I said, it's what's the old saying is, the most nervous thing, the phrase that should make you most nervous is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. So I get it. And again, the road to hell is always paved with good intentions. And I know the intentions of the PPP loans were there. And I think they were great. Don't get me wrong. And again, this is knowing a very 30,000 foot view, really what they mean and how they impact each small business. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks, because it was a very interesting discussion we just had, because we came at it from two very different perspectives.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be curious to hear, one of the things that I always love about this is hearing from the audience and where they're coming from on this too, because I think this transitions to another topic for me, if you're okay with that.
Yeah. Go ahead. No. Well, before you do you mind if I do our secondary sponsor?
I would love that.
I knew you would. So I want to thank our good pals over at Tervis. And I am drinking out of a fabulous Tervis mug today, and we're talking about the stainless line today. They have that classic line, but they added the stainless line about 3 years ago. The goal of being better than the competition. We had 360-degree UV printing. I'm showcasing it right now if you're watching us on video.
So beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's available in 4 sizes: the 12 ounce, 20 ounce, the 24 ounce water bottle. My favorite, the 30 ounce, because I stay hydrated all damn day. Got a 5-year warranty. It's copper lined, vacuum insulated, 8 hours hot, 24 hours cold. It really is great. And I mean, the printing on here is just beautiful. Oh, you're taking a picture of me. Just beautiful. And it really is a great product. So if you want to learn more, and gosh darn it, why wouldn't you? Head over to tervispromos.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. Now, Kirby, you said you had another topic. Why don't you go ahead and zoom on in right into that? See what I did? We're on a Zoom call. Yeah, anyway.
It was beautiful. So, one of my favorite things about this podcast that we've done for, I think I said to you last night on the phone, 206 straight episodes, the longest season one in history.
Longest season one in history.
But one of the things I loved about it is that I felt like we have had the opportunity to talk about the backroom conversations that are not always coming, that haven't always historically come to light in our industry. I'm very proud of that. So I wanted to just bring up, and I've got a few here.
I'm sure I do too. Usually you aren't on the same page. I'm wondering if we are. I will let you know here in a moment.
Yeah, but we just did episode 200. So so I'm not going to be like, oh, these are my favorite moments. Right. So I guess I wanted to look more 10,000 feet. And so what are your favorite things? What are your favorite things about doing unscripted that you've enjoyed over, I don't know, however many times it's been?
I think my favorite thing is really when my things are a little different. So I did want to talk about, this is our last podcast, and this is probably the last topic we're going to talk about on the last podcast, because it'll be a long one, I'm sure. I think my favorite thing is, it's so incredibly satisfying to me, and I think to you, to have this kernel of an idea where we had a conversation. We started off the podcast. It was very rough around the edges. Sure. And where we've ended up, to see what Promo Corner posted yesterday, which was completely lovely. I was shocked. I didn't know that was happening, with the quasi Van Halen background, the last episode and all that. The last dance. To see where we've come. And it was kind of overwhelmingly emotional for me. And this is emotional for me. I don't know if it is for you or not. To see how far we've come. We've been consistent, whether it's been hospital rooms, whether it's been a cruise, whether it's been vacationing in Mexico, not feeling well. We have done this for 206 straight weeks. And I am incredibly proud of that. And that, so I find that incredibly satisfying. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I actually think that's a totally, and it's something that I think separately we talk about a lot. And when people, and again, I think people come to us and say, hey, I want to do a podcast, or I want to do a blog, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And we're always like, one of the number one things is showing up, consistency. And it's what's funny about it is you and I came to that separately.
Yes.
Through you, I think sort of you came to it when you started Brand of Eight and did the blogging thing, and you were like, I'm coming on Mondays, no matter if it's Christmas Day or not. And I came to it from delivering Marketing Joy. And when we came together, like, I think I told you when I started delivering Marketing Joy, I'm like, I had heard that 5 episodes was the average number or something. Like, I'm going to have 5 in the can before I even start. I'm blowing that number away. And that was where success came. I had done content in the past and had like little bits of something, but I was never consistent with it. And when that consistency started is when success really started. And so I agree. I think that's something to be proud of.
It is. And so I kind of have this whole little list of last podcast things. And so first thing I talked about was the feelings. And like I already touched on that, the outpouring of support from yesterday's post, I was shocked, by the way. You know, of course, there's the regulars who post and comment, engage consistently. There are a lot of people who came out of the woodwork. I was like, I didn't know they listened. I had no idea they listened. I had no idea. And that was cool. But I do have mixed feelings about ending this. And you and I talked about, do we end this? Do we continue? And we decided it's been a good run, and let's move on to something else. And I think that's okay. By the way, we're ending hopefully on a high note. I wanted to ask what your favorite memories were, and I'm going to share my quick 3 ones, not episode memories, but I remember when we hit 100, how that just felt, wow, we did 100 of these. And I also have the memory of how we just gradually got more and more professional doing this. I got out of talking fast and high voice. I got better equipment and started being much more relaxed. And we finally found this ebb and flow without ever really talking about it. I mean, if you can head to Promo Corner and hit the Promo Journal tab and look under podcasts unscripted. They're all there. Every 206 episodes are all there.
Right. And
you can, if you're bored, and you really have to be bored, you can listen to the evolution of it. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of back chatter of, okay, we need to change this, we need to change that. What you're seeing, what you listened to, and then ultimately started seeing earlier this year when we started going to video, is the natural evolution and us figuring it out as we went along without a lot of backroom chatter. And I will always remember that, because it's always, I always come back to the same example. When we started posting the podcast, we never talked about who would post where, when, how. I gravitated to a couple things, you gravitated toward other things, and it just worked. So that's been very cool. And then hitting 200, that was a big deal. I know it was only 6 weeks ago, but that was a big deal. And those are some of the memories I have.
Yeah, and again, without doing a lot of preparation, I think that the ones that popped in my mind, and this is actually one of the things that I like, is recently when we did the more scripted, unscripted with guests, with Danny and Sarah.
The unscripted live,
it was a coronavirus one.
Oh, yeah. With Sarah Webb. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I felt like that was impactful. It was one of those moments where I felt like we got a chance to use the platform in a meaningful way. It was like literally as a distributor at that moment, hearing Sarah and Danny and Mary Jo, I was like, I was taking notes on how I needed to react. I'm like, I felt like we had an impact that day. That was cool. The other one that pops to my mind is really the PPAI Expo, which it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the podcast, but that was the moment, you talked about yesterday when people reached out. That was the moment when people would come up to you and you'd just be like, so many people, and regardless of the content you create, more people are listening, reading than are engaging. Yeah. And they're not listening to everyone. They're not reading everyone, but that's why consistency matters so much. And Expo was the moment where I was walking around the Promo Kitchen mixer. I'm not supposed to call it a party. And I was walking around there and people just kept bringing it up. And I was like, I mean, generally speaking, we do this in such a vacuum that you don't understand that. And so that was one of the moments where I was like, this is really
Expo's always been a place where people would come up and people just stop us and talk about unscripted, either together if we were walking or individually. And so that's always been super interesting. My Alexa's going off for some reason. I hate when it does that. So, okay. I know you didn't prepare. I did. So let's talk real quick. Things you will miss about doing this podcast and things you will not miss.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with things. Do you want me to go or you want to go?
I'll give you one that I'll miss right off the top of my
Okay.
head. So the thing about there are many Thursdays where I show up and I'm tired. We as in the interest of transparency, we record these 8 a.m. your time, 9 a.m. my time on Thursday, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
And you show up and you're like, oh, I got to come up with topics and I got to, and always at the end of it, I'm in a better mood.
Yeah.
It sets my tone for Thursday. I'm excited when it's done. I'm excited for people to hear about it. That's probably one, like just the feeling of, hey, I know it's going to make my Thursday better. I love that. That's cool.
Yeah. So here's a couple things, and I kind of touch on that. So things I'm going to miss. Taking a new look at industry topics. This podcast really forced me to not just keep in my own lane in terms of how I view things. It caused me to really listen to your opinion, which sometimes was very different than mine, and really look at things from a new perspective. And I want to continue to make sure I continue to do that. I am going to miss Deep Night Unscripted. When we would do a Deep Night Unscripted and crack a beer and just kind of chitter chat, that was always fun. I'll miss that. I'll miss that. Kind of what you just touched on, the weekly outlet, that kind of appointment. I don't know what I'm going to do next Thursday at 8:00. It's going to feel really weird.
I'm with you on that.
I'm going to miss Rapid Fire. Oh, how I am going to miss Rapid Fire.
Not today, you're not.
So much. No, I won't today. And then I'm going to miss you. We said from day one, this podcast doesn't exist without you. It doesn't exist without me. It's us together, and I'm going to miss talking to you. How about things you're not going to miss, Kirby? What are you not going to miss about this platinum level, 3-time award-winning broadcast?
Prep. I think that, despite the fact that we joke about it being unscripted and you have topics, I have topics, but I work pretty hard trying to come up with topics that are relevant. To be honest with you, I didn't have, and you and I've talked about this separately. If I don't have topics done the night before, I don't sleep that night.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. Like, even to the point where I'm like, okay, if I've only got 3 topics, I'm good. I can sleep. Right. If I've got 1 or 2, like, I'm tossing and turning all night long. So, I mean, I think it's true of sports or a lot of other things you do. The game is fun. Yeah. The prep work is the hard work. So that's probably.
And that's one thing I want to touch on. I don't think people realize how much prep actually goes into this. Yeah. And I joke kind of tongue in cheek. It takes a lot of work to look this unprepared and sound this unprepared, but we both work very hard at making sure we're prepared and engaged and involved. So things I'm not going to miss, Kirby. I always have this fear of being redundant. I worry, have we talked about this topic before? Yeah. I mean, the one that comes to mind immediately is mergers and acquisitions. My goodness, I don't know how many times we talked about mergers and acquisitions. So I worried about that. The juggling of recording, I hated that. I always did. Not because you made it hard. It's just hard because there are sometimes I was traveling, you're traveling, and man, we'd have to record at weird times. And sometimes you don't want to travel with your microphone and you just want to unplug. And that was always a challenge. Totally. I'm not going to miss worrying about saying something dumb. Because we really don't edit this. Yeah. We truly don't. There's maybe been twice we've edited and it's been due to technology farts. That's it. So we don't edit this. And so I've said things that I wish I could pull back. I think you have too. So I don't miss kind of white knuckling it, because here's what you don't, a little peek behind the scenes. I'm not going to speak for Kirby, but there's times I'll say something, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, no, and you want to pull it back in. And I spend the rest of the podcast trying to shut that out of my mind. And then we get off the podcast, I'm like, hey, man, was that stupid? Because I don't.
Yeah, I think that's something, and you can tell me, but I think that happens to you. Like, you're more cognizant of that than me. I pretty much, it leaves my mouth and I've forgotten about it immediately.
I won't miss coming up with a new title for you every week. I don't know when that started. But sometimes it's been like, sometimes it's great. And I love alliteration. So I'm always going to use alliteration, but sometimes, man, it's been really tough. And I'm not going to miss coming up with the right artwork every week, for posting and all that. Yeah, honestly, who am I kidding? I'm going to miss all of this, to be honest with you. It has been such a great ride, such a great run. And I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anyone but you. So kudos.
No one else would do it with you.
Well, that's very true. All right, Kirby, we're at the time of the podcast where we recognize the promo person of the week. That per person or persons, in this week's case, that in the promo industry that's getting our attention and making us take notice. So it's me this week. and I'm going to share my 2 promo people of the week.
Excited.
Tom Rowan from Envision Screen Printing and Dimensional Brewing in Dubuque, Iowa, and Marshall Atkinson from Atkinson Consulting. I've done 206 of these. Still screw it up all the time. They're really bright guys. We both know Marshall pretty well because he is a Promo Kitchen chef, and we were chefs with him in Promo Kitchen. Tom is a serial entrepreneur, and he's an embroiderer, screen printer, owns a brewery in Dubuque, and just a really sharp guy. And they started something a couple years ago called Shirt Lab. And it's really focused on embroiderers and screen printers and helping them be better, expand their business, things like that. And so they started something called Shirt Lab, and they had these live events. Obviously, when COVID hit, they canceled they postponed all of their 2020 events, pushed them to 2021, and came up with the Shirt Lab Summit. And they did a 3-day summit, got about 35 speakers. I was honored to be one of them, but I know Charity Gibson was one of them, and several other people that we know that I can't think of right now. But about 30 speakers, and they did a kind of a 5-question interview, last about a half hour, and then they did a bonus question. And so they gave away all that, the 5 questions for every speaker for free. You could watch it for a 24-hour period. They had day 1 of sales, day 2 of marketing, day 3 of operations.
Nice.
And then you could upgrade. You could upgrade for a very nominal fee. Maybe I think it was like $60 or $80, something like that, where you'd have access to all the content for a lifetime and get the bonus questions. And I will tell you, it was brilliant, and they pulled it off. I know they had some technology issues on day 1, which, that's going to happen. But I got to tell you, so impressed with what those 2 guys pulled off, and they did it with humor. They did it with aplomb, and honestly, super, super. It was just amazing. As a speaker, it was amazing. I recorded my stuff over a month ago, but I had time this week to go and listen to the other speakers and what they had to say. And I got to tell you, it was a knockout lineup of people. Nice. And I got to tell you, that just blew me away. So Tom Rowan and Marshall Atkinson, you are the promo people of the week, the final promo people of the week for this platinum level broadcast. Now, Kirby, we're at Dealer's Choice. I feel like I should have ended this. I feel like I should have, done it with a rapid fire. But apparently not. So there you go.
It's just the way the math works, right?
It is just the way the math works.
Okay, so we are going to do a rapid fire.
Oh, okay.
But it's about unscripted.
Okay.
And I get to answer 2.
Okay.
So since it's Dealer's Choice.
It's your Dealer's Choice.
Okay, are you ready? So
I'm ready.
When it comes to unscripted, guest or no guest?
No guest.
No guest, I agree. Live or recorded unscripted?
Recorded.
Recorded, agree. Rapid fire or fill in the blank?
Rapid fire all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
I kind of like fill in the blank.
I do too. I like a both. That's a hard one, but a rapid fire just got funny.
Yeah. Promo person of the week or ladies of promo?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with promo person of the week, and I'll tell you why. I love that ladies podcast. Excuse me. I love that ladies podcast. I think it's been such a wonderful opportunity for us to highlight the wonderful work women are doing in our industry. I think the promo person of the week allows us to recognize a broader scope of people. Male, female, doesn't matter. So I'm going to go promo person of the week.
I'm going to go ladies of promo, partially because you went the other way, but partially because it makes me think differently.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether that should be the case, it is the case. And so it makes me look at our industry differently and appreciate things that I don't always appreciate.
And women in this industry, folks, are still not recognized enough. Yes. They're not.
Fair. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Over Zoom or in person?
Zoom. Surprisingly enough, if we did more in person and more in person in a row, I would prefer in person, but we would do them in such one-off ways. It always felt weird and strange. So there was never an opportunity to get a rhythm. Here, it's a very easy rhythm. In person, it was always, sometimes there's a crowd, sometimes there's someone else. And it's just, so I very slightly Zoom. If we did it 2 in a row, it would always be in person, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. That's a tough one. I'm going to go in person just because I really felt like we fed off the audience and got, when you make a joke and somebody laughs as it happens, that's pretty fun. So that's final one.
Final one.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Kirby asking rapid fire or Bill asking rapid fire?
Oh, me every day of the week, please.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. So before we say goodbye, I have a couple things I want to say. And so I want to thank some people. I want to thank our great sponsors over the years. Let me thank our sponsor this week real quick. Next Level Apparel, thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. You know, they have this great new 1800 unisex ideal heavyweight tee. You really need to check it out. I mean, they really created that tubular tee that's got this elevated fit, that soft fabric, everyday function is inspired by streetwear and workwear, surfwear and workwear. Every cut is designed to really make you feel like $1 million. So head over to nextlevelapparel.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. And I want to thank them. But I want to thank all of our sponsors, truly. It blows me away that people were willing to spend money so we could talk. Yeah. Honestly, it really does. So
especially at the beginning,
yeah.
when people said they wanted to hop on.
Yeah,
I was just like, wow, I was so flattered.
I went back and I think I got every sponsor. If I missed one, I am profusely sorry. High Tech Graphics, ID Line, AIM Smart EQP, T-Shirt Tycoon, Branded Logistics, Chameleon Like, Gold Star, Tech Weld, Raining Rose, Bam Bam's Service, Vault Promotions, Next Level we just mentioned, and honestly the OG, which would be commonsku, have been friends of this program from day one. And honestly, I don't know if we could have continued to do it for this long. And so thank you guys. I will speak for Kirby from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. I hope we've acquitted you well. I hope that it's always been a great return on your investment. I know Kirby does too. I want to thank PPAI, Paul Bellantome, Kim Todora, always been huge supporters of this podcast. ASI, Tim Andrews, Michelle Bell, the same way. commonsku, we mentioned them. Mark, Catherine, Bobby, Sam, Kate, David, Aaron, always have been great supports here. The promo marketing team, Sean Norris, Brendan Menepace, and Free Promo Tips, Jeff Solomon. Great people who've always supported us. Great organizations in our industry that have supported us. I want to thank all, and I'm going to say we, because I think you're with me on this. We want to thank every person, whether you engaged once or 1 million times. I listed a bunch of people knowing I'm leaving people off, not intentional. But I picked the people that came to my mind. I literally closed my eyes and just started writing. People that I engaged consistently, that either agreed with us, disagreed with us, but just engaged. Danny Rosen, John Anderson, Johanna Gottlieb, John Norris, Amanda Delaney, Josette Bossy, Tom Klauser, Charity Gibson, Ben Taylor, Amelia Model, Josh Robbins, Rich Graham, Dana Zezzo, Jessica Onions, Laura Greider, Meg Erber, David Schultz, Mandy Rudd, Mark Graham, Lauren Richardson, Kelsey Cunningham, Harold Wood, Joel Moore, Lori Moore, Brandon Petrich, Shannon Laredo, Brian Jolin, Tim Hill, Meredith Wallace, Lori Eaton, Mike Eaton, Brett Schaefer, Brian Young, Sam Kabert, Susan Bolsky, Jeff Jacobs, Megan Corey, and a million others I'm sure I've missed. I was blown away when I started thinking about how many people really have engaged with us.
I'm going to throw Harvey Mackler.
Yes, Harvey Mackler.
He was one of the early engagers.
Yes, yeah. Harvey. I'm so sorry, and I'm going to hear about that for the rest of my life now.
But not as much now that we mentioned.
No. I think on behalf of Kirby, we want to thank Promo Corner.
Yes.
This came as a genesis. I was not working for Promo Corner at the time. I was just a content provider. And Kirby and I had a kernel of an idea, and I remember getting on the telephone call with you and Joel and kind of explaining what we wanted to do. And he said, we'll do it for 10 weeks and see what happens from there. And here we are 206 weeks later, and we're still hopefully ending on top. So Joel Moore, thank you for giving us a chance to do this little silliness over Promo Corner.
Thanks, guys. And dude, this has been fun. This has been really fun.
And I'm probably going to get emotional.
Okay. Thank
you, Kirby. You have been one of my biggest supporters ever. And I would never imagine doing this podcast without you. I can't thank you enough for your friendship, for your candor, for your support, for everything. And I'm sad to see this end, but it's okay. And I want to say I love you, and I thank you very much. And I think that'll do it for this last unscripted, everybody.
You're an asshole.
No, I'm not.
Thank you for listening to Unscripted with Kirby Hasseman and Bill Petrie. Unscripted is available every Friday at promocorner.com, the leader in digital marketing for the promotional products industry.